Yo legends! Welcome to Fanfiction Legend. Grab your headphones, because today's story is about to hit different. Disclaimer. I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. The Talent of Konoha. Page 81. Alright. But be gentle, I'm afraid of pain. I'll be gentle, don't worry. Saitama swore and dragged Nagisa to the depths of the training ground, where there were few people. Boom. Boom. Clap clap clap. In the depths of the training ground, the sound of collisions came one after another without stopping, making the members of the guards in the training ground next to him show understanding expressions, and at the same time, they also had a kind of longing. After all, the people standing here are not even qualified to be Saitama's training partner. Saitama has now resolutely become a strength standard for the guard team. Only those who are qualified to serve as a sparring partner for Saitama are qualified members of the guard team. More than a dozen members here know about Saitama's growth process, and they have heard about it recently. Saitama's performance on the battlefield does not feel that there is any shame in aiming at such conditions. I can't do it. Nagisa supported Saitama's legs, half kneeling on the ground, covered with a mixture of sweat and mud. With a long sigh of relief, Saitama pulled Nagisa up. I haven't even started to use ninjutsu, you can't do it? Man! Saitama said strangely, only when facing his companions would he have such complicated emotions. Humph. Nagisa didn't know how to answer, tilted his head, and kneaded the muscles all over his body with his hands. Let's end here today. Saitama staggered away and walked to the side, where his knife was lying on the bracket. During the whole afternoon, Saitama was honing his taijutsu. First, he didn't use ninjutsu, second, he didn't use knives, and third, he didn't even open Sharingan. Saitama, huh? Nagisa followed behind Saitama coyly, like a child asking for candy from an adult. No! With a hand in the pocket behind his buttocks, Saitama threw out a scroll, which was his own summed-up experience, combined with his own understanding and the memory of his previous life. Hey, good! Nagisa quickly caught it, with a pleasant surprise on his face. He was just planning to let Saitama explain it to him orally, and he could memorize as much as he could, but he didn't expect Saitama to give him a scroll directly. Thank you. Nagisa looked at Saitama, who was hanging a knife on his waist. What? Speak louder. Saitama showed a narrow expression, his eyes narrowed into a line. Thank you. Nagisa repeated. Why are you polite? Saitama patted Nagisa on the shoulder and left. This is very suitable for you, isn't it? Saitama walked away with small steps, and Nagisa stood on the spot, holding the scroll vigorously, staring at Saitama's back. His body was sore from practicing with Saitama seems to disappear. What are you doing again? Why is Nagisa that expression? Just after walking a few steps, Saitama met Mori, and Mori asked with a strange expression on his face. What can I do? He may have sand in his eyes, who knows? Saitama laughed and shrugged. Let's go, I have something to do with you. Mori also saw that there was nothing wrong with Nagisa, and beckoned Saitama to follow him. The two walked to a quiet place and sat side by side on a bench after exercising just now. His body was covered in sweat, and Saitama didn't feel anything else, so he leaned directly on the backrest. An accident happened to Shursui. Mori said slowly, staring at Saitama to see how he behaved. Saitama remained motionless, still leaning on the chair with that calm look. Why aren't you nervous? Mori was a little speechless. He just wanted to see Saitama's reaction, so he came here to tell Saitama the news. Shursui shouldn't be a big problem, otherwise you wouldn't talk to me like this. Saitama said calmly, everything was under control. Look at you. Sen's tone was a little annoyed. Tell me, what's going on? Saitama nodded. Shursui and the clan's Jonin took on a mission together. They encountered enemies on the way, but they were rescued without any serious problems. Sen reluctantly briefly explained the situation of Jishui. Then what? Saitama didn't think such a thing was worthy of Mori's coming, and specifically said this one thing. Jishui has opened his eyes. Sen's tone was a little sad. He still remembered that he was about 15 years old when he opened his eyes for the first time, but now he is 24 and is about to get married. Oh. Saitama is a little interested in this. As a ninja, getting injured during a mission is something that must be experienced. Saitama is not worried about Shisui at all, but this mission opened Shisui's eyes, and he still cares about it. Shisui's talent is as good as yours, he is also a double Goyu when he opens his eyes. Mori's tone became strange, and he looked at Chiyu while speaking. That's just right, I don't need to let him go in future battles. Saitama didn't care, put one hand on the back of the chair, waved the other hand in the air in front of him, and his legs shook a few times. Looks like an asshole. Since you're not surprised, I'm leaving. There's still a big judge waiting for me to go say hello. Sen stood up, said hello, and left. The wedding was approaching, and he was a busy man. Mori left, and Saitama was still sitting there, his eyes were a little blurry, as if he was thinking about something. Although I know that Shisui is a genius, it's not bad to open eyes at the age of 7. With Shisui sharing Sharingan, it's the enemy's nightmare. Saitama looked down at his fingers, thinking. Sharpening eyes will greatly increase the threat of the instantaneous body technique. This kind of Shisui is even stronger. After patting the chair, Chiyu got up and left. He was going to take a shower first, change his clothes before going home, and took time to check Shisui. Are you leaving? Well, everyone, practice hard. I have to take a step ahead. Okay, go slowly. Goodbye, Saitama. Page 82. Saying goodbye to everyone in the training ground, Saitama left the guard station. The current time is around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Chiyu thought about it, and went to see Shisui first. Carrying the standard equipment for visiting patients, a basket of fruit, Saitama chatted for a while with Shisui, who was very angry in the ward. Jishui's condition is very good, and he was sent back only because he was in a coma. As for the fact that he is still in the ward now, it is because Sen asked the hospital for more checks before letting Jishui out of the hospital. After peeling an apple for himself, Saitama was ready to leave. Shisui didn't need to worry here, and he could go back to have dinner with peace of mind. That's fine, Kitama, go back first. I'll be discharged tomorrow at the latest. Shisui looked at the absent-minded Chiyu, sitting cross-legged on the bed, and said with a smile. It was his mother who took care of Jishui in the hospital, but she should be out to prepare meals for him now. Well, say hello to your mother later, I'll be leaving first. Chiyu came quickly and left gracefully. After patting his butt, Saitama left directly. Mother-in-law, what are you having for dinner? Chiyu could smell the aroma as soon as he entered the house, which is why he insisted on going home for dinner every day. Come here and sit down when Chiyu is back. This is the hot pot base that my mother-in-law specially bought today. It tastes absolutely delicious. Granny Xiang turned her body sideways from the kitchen, revealing a silver-haired head, with happiness written all over her face. Okay, come here. Hearing the hot pot, Chiyu's heart warmed up. In such a cold night, only the hot pot made by her mother-in-law is warm enough. The weather is getting colder and colder. There is no snow in Konoha at this time this year, but the temperature is extremely low. Having a delicious hot pot meal with Granny Xiang in the house, Saitama feels that life has reached its peak. Speechless all night after the meal, Saitama was studying his ninjutsu upstairs until midnight, but he could still hear the sound coming from the floor below, and Granny Xiang didn't seem to be asleep. Without looking into it, Chiyu knew that the old man's sleep was getting shorter and shorter, and since he officially became a ninja, every time he went out of the village was a test for Grandma Xiang. Although Grandma Xiang didn't say anything, Chiyu could see the joy on her face every time she came back, the kind of joy from the inside out. But the world of ninjas is like this: since you choose, you can't regret it. Just like Jishui, he is still lying in the hospital, and the only thing I can do is to become stronger. Early the next morning, after eating delicious rice balls made by her mother-in-law and a bowl of seaweed soup at home, Saitama started another day of training. He planned to go to Uchiha Fugaku this afternoon to see the mission that gave him a headache. Instead of going directly to the training ground in the morning, Shiyu is now starting to practice Buddhism. He wants to imitate Dai Kai and his son and run around the village a few times to warm up. The day before, I was still lamenting that there was no snow this year. When I woke up this morning, a light snow fell from the sky, fluttering and falling on the streets of Konoha. Who? After running around Konoha village for a few laps, Saitama felt sore legs and feet. Although he didn't use chakra to help his movement, but thinking of the gap with Dai and Kai, he still had to say monster in his heart. After warming up, Saitama came to the training ground, and there were already people training at the moment, while Nagisa, with 2 dark circles under his eyes, was happily chatting with a group of people. Ahem! Shiyu uttered a voice, and the group of people dispersed instantly. Morning! Saitama, morning! Seeing that it was Saitama, the boys all started to say hello. Morning, everyone! Saitama nodded. He is a man of extraordinary strength, and now he is the invisible leader of this group of guards. No one will say it, but he does exist. Shu, come here. Saitama called Shangju casually, and told Shangju to walk towards the depths of the training ground. Ah? It's me again? Nagisa smiled wryly and pointed at himself, but then followed Saitama, leaving a group of laughing Uchiha boys behind. Chapter 37. Leaning against a big tree, I really think I have become a big tree, which is very funny. Let's practice the saber today. Walking deep into the training ground, Shiyu drew out the saber, slashed it a few times, and made a hogu sound in the air. Farewell. Nagisa stood opposite Saitama with a look of unrequited love, and reluctantly drew out his own sword. ZZ! An electric arc began to flash on the knife, and Saitama smiled at Nagisa like a family member. Ha! As soon as he stood up, Nagisa felt something unusual, until he saw the flashing arc on Saitama's sword. Saitama, I don't think I've offended you, do you? Are you trying to kill me? Nagisa lost his composure and began to jump. No, I'm simulating the battlefield for you. Your enemy won't accommodate you everywhere. Saitama put the knife in front of his face with a righteous face, and carefully observed the changes on the knife. An arc intensity suitable for Nagisa, not lethal but definitely not pleasant. Come on. Let me see the results of your cultivation. Saitama waved his left hand at Nagisa, and Saitama signaled him to attack. Nagisa. Seeing Kitama's seriousness, not like a fake action, Nagisa knew that he must have not read the almanac when he went out today, or stepped on something strange when he went out today. But at the moment when he really decided to fight, Nagisa no longer smiled and returned to Uchiha's cold face. Narrowing his eyes again and again, Chang breathed a sigh of relief, and Nagisa rushed over quickly, with steady steps and strong chakra on his body. Ding! Go blocked the attack. Saitama kicked Nagisa's chest, knocking him into the air. I want to see your results. If you continue to fool me like this, I will not continue to be merciful. Saitama straightened his posture, and the arc on the knife suddenly intensified, making Nagisa's face pale. Since Saitama is like this, I can't continue paddling. Nagisa showed a more serious expression, holding the knife in front of his chest. Nagisa has half-length hair that reaches his ears. As he began to operate the chakra in his body, the hair rose without wind, and the blue chakra began to diffuse to the knife in his hand. Eyes squinted, Saitama didn't launch an attack, he had nothing to do at the moment, just wanted to test Nagisa's understanding of his scroll. Page 83. Seeing that Nagisa was still brewing, Saitama was not in a hurry. After all, the things were handed over to him only yesterday. Hey! Nagisa said in a low voice, as if he was forcibly controlling something, and as he lowered his body, the chakra, which was only round and densely covered on the ninja knife, began to have some ups and downs and moved quickly. The blue light rotates rapidly on the blade, like a circle of gears, rotating at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's interesting. Saitama looked at the chakra gear on the Nagisa sword, which was a bit like the attack of asthma he saw in his previous life. But it doesn't seem to be as sharp as asthma. What's the reason? Staring at Nagisa's blade, Saitama opened Sharingan at some point, as if he could see more clearly this way. Saitama. Sweat appeared on Nagisa's forehead, it seemed that such use was not a light burden on him. Well, let me have a look. Saitama took the rest and did not relax himself. Nagisa's attack is already a change in the chakra nature of the initial mastery of the wind attribute. Although he is not proficient and not powerful enough, he has taken the most difficult first step anyway. The wind attribute is the most cutting among all attributes, and it is also the sharpest. Even Saitama's thunder cannot compare. But Saitama's thunder possesses power and speed that wind cannot match. The two attributes have their own advantages. Although Saitama also possesses these two innate attributes, his strength and character made him choose thunder, who has more outstanding achievements. Kick! As soon as his footsteps turned, Nagisa rushed towards him, his eyes fixed on Saitama. He hadn't opened his eyes yet, so naturally his eyesight was not as sharp as Saitama's. Ding! Two ninja swords with different attributes collided together, and the first collision between Lei and Feng took place in this training ground. Hiss! The arcs continued to intertwine. Saitama squinted his eyes, and Shalunyan looked at the place where the two knives touched. Although the arc is flashing, it is difficult to invade Nagisa's sword, because there is a round of chakra fluctuations on Nagisa's sword that is constantly advancing in one direction, just like a stone crusher, crushing everything that comes into contact with it. Including chakra. Gear? Saitama nodded and made a sound. Yes, I read Saitama's scroll. This is a kind of use mentioned in it to improve the sharpness of chakra, and it is also a preliminary use of chakra's nature change. Pretty good. Increase the chakra output, and the arc on the knife is like high-voltage electricity, making a humming sound. The chakra on Nagisa's sword stagnated, and then continued to function after he increased the chakra, but it was not as natural as before. Boom! Zhu's knife was blown away, and an electric arc appeared on it, and Zhu's face was also stunned. It's already very powerful. How long has it been? Saitama didn't hit Nagisa, put the knife back to his waist, and patted him on the shoulder. Nagisa naturally knew where he made a mistake, or it wasn't a mistake, but he hadn't grasped it well yet. Picking up the knife, Nagisa stood in front of Saitama again, with a determined face, without a trace of reluctance. Okay, don't hang around in front of me anymore. I'll practice for a while today, so stay where you are cool. Saitama waved his hand, as if he was yelling at a fly. Shu broke his skills in a second, and left with his head down, not daring to say a few more words. Practice more. Saitama said to him, looking at Nagisa, who was leaving by mistake. Okay. Nagisa's voice sounded behind Saitama, followed by the sound of footsteps fading away. Phew, let's try the previous idea today? Saitama stood in the middle of the training ground with one hand touching the knife. Just do what you think. Saitama is the kind of action. How about Chidori Ryu? Saitama nodded. Although he has been able to attach the current to the knife and most of the body, it is a kind of prolonged life in the Thunder Chakra mode, not like Sasuke in the original book. Generally, it is an independent means of attack. That is to say, for the current Saitama, in order to release the current needs to be manifested on the body first, and then slowly transferred to other places. What Saitama needs to do now is to make the thousand bird style appear directly where he wants it to appear, such as arms, such as legs. It may sound difficult, but with previous experience, it didn't take Saitama much time to become familiar with this usage mode and then master it. Hiss! Saitama's arm was directly wrapped with a circle of electric current, making crackling noises. Shwa! With a flat kick, the calf and footsteps were also entangled with electric current. Not bad. Saitama looked at it with satisfaction, as if it had met his expectations. As soon as the chakra stopped, all the current disappeared, and the clothes and pants were not damaged at all. During this exercise, Saitama forgot the time. Although he felt that he had grasped it very quickly, nearly 2 hours had indeed passed. The sun had already begun to hang above his head. Although the light snow had stopped fluttering, the temperature was still not high. Since going to the front line, Saitama has often used Thunder Attribute Chakra to stimulate cells. One is to maintain the state of the body, and the other is to increase the speed instantly during the battle, so that the enemy can't figure out his bottom. But judging from the memories of previous lives, this method is not a good one. After all, cells have limits. whether it is energy supply, energy storage, or division. Therefore, the current Saitama generally does not use this method of hurting 1,000 enemies and 800 self-inflicted injuries at all times. After all, the pain in the body after use will not lie. Looking at the sky, Chiyu felt that it was still early, so he continued to practice with the target. Ever since he learned the snapshot from Shui, Saitama has not given up practicing. This kind of advanced method, coupled with his own speed advantage, is a perfect match. Facing nearly 10 targets, Saitama squinted his eyes and began to practice. At present, his mastery of the blinking body technique is not low. It may not be as good as Jishui, but it is not too far behind. Maybe it's talent. Chiyu sometimes thinks bad fart in his heart, but he won't say it out. After all, that's too crappy. Shoo! 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 Figures flickered around the target. Saitama had already left a fatal wound on the target, hit all the targets. Saitama took less than 5 seconds, and reached his own intended goal very quickly. Time passed in the solitary practice like this, and it was lunchtime in a blink of an eye. Page 84. Since I decided to go to Captain Fuyue in the afternoon, I will settle lunch in the guard. After eating a large pot of braised beef, and then eating a plate of nearly 10 large rice balls with seaweed soup, Saitama ignored the strange eyes of other members around him and went straight to Fuyue's office. He saw Fuyu enter the office there early in the morning, so he should be there now. Wandering around the guard's office, Saitama didn't see Fuyue, so he had to go to the office of the guard next to him. The two places are not far away, and the office building is far away from each other. Showing off the security badge that he hadn't used once since he received it, he walked to the door of Fuyu's office under the eyes of a group of people. Hello? Knocked on the door. Chiyu stood at the door, waiting for the people inside to tell him to go in. Saitama has already asked just now, and Fugaku was in the office at the moment, so there will be no such thing as running in vain again. Please come in. Uchiha Fugaku's voice was still so calm. Maybe this is the common characteristic of middle-aged people, right? Although Fuyu is only about 30 years old. Cringe. Oh. Pushing the door open and closing it again, Saitama's set of movements flowed smoothly. Kitama. Fuyue didn't expect it to be Kitama, and found the security team here. What's the matter? Fuyu was very forgetful, and seemed to have forgotten the task he told Chiyu not long ago. Putting the document in his hand on the table, Fuyue just read a report on the family business. The security team usually didn't need him to deal with some trivial matters. It's about the mission, Captain. Saitama had to remind Fuyu when he walked to the table and stood still. Oh. I understand. Fuyu raised his head and leaned back. Kitama is ready? Fuyu looked at the boy in front of him. Although Saitama is only 7 years old, not yet 8 years old, but with this physique, let's count it as a teenager. Yes. The captain can tell me the details of the mission first. Saitama nodded with a very focused expression. The mission is actually very simple. It is to escort an important person back to the capital. However, due to the special identity of the mission target, the danger involved is not small. Fuyue thought for a while and said, Is that all? Saitama didn't believe that such a task would make Fugaku as distressed as before. That is to say, during the mission process, there may be a large number of Jonin siege and kill targets, and there should be nothing special about it. Fuyue's tone was very relaxed, as if he was talking about a common matter. In that case, Saitama rubbed his chin. This task is indeed a bit difficult. The task time is still early, and the target task is still in my village. It seems that you have to wait until the new year is over before getting up and leaving. So you still have time to prepare, and you can drink Sen Shijio by the way. Fuyue smiled and said in a teasing tone, You are the only one on this mission. Can you do it? The tone became more serious, and Fuyue once again emphasized that although Saitama is very talented, talent does not mean immediate combat power. Then let me know when the time comes. Saitama turned and left, raising his hand. This kid. Watching Chiyu open the door and leave, Fuyue patted the back of his head. Don't let me down, Kitama. His eyes were a little heavy. Fugaku didn't want to entrust this task to Katama at first, but who made Katama the only person he trusted now who was qualified? Chapter 38. The new year is coming as scheduled, and even though there are constant wars, it still hasn't disturbed people's festive mood for the new year. Every house is decorated with lanterns and festoons, which is very lively. The first day after the new year is Sen's wedding day. Early on, Shiyu changed into the new clothes Granny Sang prepared for him yesterday. The upper body is still the high-neck top that the Uchiha family has not changed for many years, and the lower part is specially replaced by the warm fleece slacks because of the cold weather. Mother-in-law, I'm going out to attend a colleague's wedding today. I don't think I'll be back for a day. Be careful at home. After getting up together and packing everything, Saitama directly told Granny Siang about her plans for the day. Hey! Well, didn't you say it once yesterday? Why is it more verbose than me? Uchiha Siang sat on a leisure stool below, as if she had already had breakfast and was digesting there. Then I'm leaving, mother-in-law. Because today is Mori's wedding day, Saitama is going to go early, so I can do a favor, or see the excitement? He didn't bring any weapons on his body, and Saitama was lightly dressed. After all, it's someone else's wedding. Bringing some strange things over there will always make the host family emotional. Hey! Saitama. Just a few hundred meters away, a voice came from behind. Yo, isn't this Nagisa? Saitama knows who it is without looking back. After all, she has been together for so long. Folding his hands behind his head, Saitama stood still and waited for Nagisa to catch up with him. Hey! It's so early for Katama. Nagisa walked to Katama's side in a treacherous way, still with dark circles under his eyes. Isn't this to go early, don't you too? Saitama shrugged. I didn't even eat breakfast. I just woke up and saw you passing by my house, so I just followed out. Nagisa turned and pointed to a nearby house. Ha! After getting along for so long, Shiyu really didn't know that Nagisa lived so close to him. That's okay, I didn't eat either, let's go to Mori's to eat big food. Saitama smiled, and such words did not make him feel ashamed at all. Hey! Nagisa nodded in agreement. Mori invited all the members of the guard himself without waiting for Saitama to speak in the guard yesterday, and Nagisa was naturally on the trip. What did you do last night? Saitama looked at Nagisa's dark circles that were comparable to Izuo Jinchuriki. Hee, you understand, Saitama. Nagisa patted the back of his head. Page 85. Well, it's really not easy for adolescent boys. Saitama naturally knew the reason, but still couldn't help teasing. Hey! Nagisa didn't understand what Saitama meant. After all, he was still a baby around 11 years old. The two went side by side towards Mori's house. Mori's house was to the east of the Uchiha clan, not far from the guard station. Along the way, Saitama achieved the small achievement of collecting members of the escort team many times, and a group of people set off towards today's big family like that. For the new year, everyone was neatly dressed, and a few even wore fancy kimonos because they were going to a wedding. A group of young teenagers arrived at today's wedding scene while giggling. Sayu. As soon as he arrived, Shiyu saw Shisui waving. Hey! Saitama walked over and stood with Shisui. Shisui, why is it so early? Shiyu didn't meet him along the way, so Shiyu thought that Jishui was behind, but he didn't expect him to be here. Brotherson specially asked me to come early to help yesterday. Jishui smiled with some tea in his hand. Looking around, Jishui saw that the yard here is quite large, and nearly 10 tables have been set up, and tea is placed on the tables. Don't sit still, go to the back and help. Saitama yelled, and the members of the guard who were sitting around a table drinking tea began to stand up sparsely, ready to go to the back. They came so early. To help. It is good. Go, and see what there is to eat. Hey, let's go. Taking the tea from Shisui's hand, Saitama pushed Jishui, go and do your work, leave me alone. After speaking, he walked towards a familiar figure, and there was a man in red smiling at him. Isn't this the bridegroom officer? Saitama put the tea just brought from Shisui's hand on the table, walked over, and said with a smile. Don't make trouble, Saitama. Mori was a little serious today, with a very stiff expression, just the kind of feeling that he wanted to laugh but forced himself to hold back. It's almost 8 o'clock, how are you getting ready? Saitama could see Mori's nervousness, and knowing that it was his first marriage and inexperienced, he began to ease the atmosphere. It's all ready, and I'll wait for you to let go of your stomach to eat. Sen's expression on his face was loose, and his tone was still quite happy. Where's sister-in-law? Shiyu intentionally showed a wretched smile, looking behind Mori. Since Sen and his girlfriend have been together for many years, today they just officially confirmed their status, so his girlfriend has already lived in Sen's home. It's upstairs, I'll come down later. Mori raised his head, motioning to Saitama. Mori is a popular fried chicken in front of the patriarch of the Uchiha family. His marriage is still supported by many members of the same clan, and the seats in the yard are full. During the simple wedding ceremony, Saitama and the members of the escort also met Mori's girlfriend as they wished. No, it should be his wife now. She was a virtuous-looking woman with a gentle attitude towards others, revealing her admiration for Sen in every move. It can't be done, it can't be done. Sen was being poured wine at another table. At this time, his face was flushed and his eyes were confused. Shiyu's table is not old enough to drink, and he can only watch Sen being poured to death, feeling itchy. After eating this meal for 3 full hours, the yard was in a mess after the meal. Let's go, Mori, happy wedding. My village didn't say that there was a bridal chamber, and Katama was ready to leave after eating. The year has passed, and the wine has been eaten. He has to prepare for the next mission, at least to learn more about the situation. Okay, Shursui, you leave first. Mori had lost consciousness, patted Saitama's shoulder, and called Shursue's name. Beside Mori, his wife was supporting him with a happy face, and kept nodding and smiling at Saitama. She knew that Saitama in front of her was his husband's trusted junior. Saitama and Nagisa didn't care, and Shursui stayed there to help. He is a warm-hearted person, so he couldn't bear to let Mori's family continue to work hard to clean up the venue. Saitama, after the next year I applied for the Chunin exam. Walking side by side with Nagisa, Saitama heard these words. No problem, your strength is enough. Saitama nodded. I don't want to be thrown too far, when will you be promoted to Jonin? Nagisa agreed with Saitama's words and continued to ask. Let's accumulate slowly, it's not in a hurry now. Saitama has no idea in this regard. This kind of title does not increase the attack power, nor does it have any bonuses. How can it be comfortable to secretly increase strength? Let's go. Saying goodbye to Nagisa, Saitama continued to walk forward. Time is becoming more and more precious, Shiyu dare not waste it, he has to go back to get his own weapons first, and then go to the training ground. Are you sure? In the darkness, a gloomy voice sounded, breaking the tranquility of this world. Tick. Page 86. Water dripped from the pipes and hit the ground with a sound. Yes, Uchiha has already identified the candidate for the task, and the task list has also been submitted to the Hokage office, which happens to be the target to perform this task. A half-kneeling figure lowered its head and replied respectfully. Continue to pay attention, I need a confirmed date for leaving the village. The other voice sounded again. With the crashing sound of hang hang, only a half-kneeling black shadow remained here. Yes. The black shadow raised his head, and a mask was revealed under the subtle light. Calm was restored here again, only the tick sound of water continued to sound. An unknown storm seems to be sweeping towards Chiyu. Chiyu knows nothing about it, but will he be afraid? The answer is obvious. Ha! Ninja knife slashed down with an electric current, cutting the target in front of him in half. Ha! Shiyu let out a long sigh of relief as the electric current on the knife disappeared. Go back, wash and sleep, and I will formally receive the task from the captain tomorrow. With a few swings of his arms, Shiyu hung the knife on his waist. At present, Saitama's chakra in his body is very strong. As for how much, it may be a few mori, or many Shursui? Saitama is not sure, but chakra is improving steadily every day, and he rarely has chakra depleted. Without a reference, Saitama can only make a rough guess. Sword technique, thunder escape, Sharingan sharing. This is Saitama's most commonly used attack combination at present, and it is also the direction of his development. Sword skills are useless in the later stage, but lay done in Sharingan Saitama cannot give up. The chakra attributes in my body still have wind and fire, and they can slowly work in the future. Saitama thought in his heart. The use of Fengdun can be combined with sword skills, and it can be used interactively with thunder when attacking. It can also be used to make spiral pills. Let's rub some balls for fun. While walking, Saitama's thoughts began to take off. The current improvement of Sharingan seems to be very slow, but I can also feel the bottleneck. It seems that there is something close to it. Thinking of Sharingan, Shiyu remembered the golden finger he got at the beginning of time travel. It's really the strongest talent in rubbish. Saitama pursed her lips. Ever since she opened Xuanguyu Sharingan, Sharingan has not been upgraded for a long time. Is this the strongest talent? The more he thought about it, Shiyu felt cheated. After all, the cheat promised by the great god during time travel did not play its due role. All the strength now is obtained by Saitama with sweat, so that he doesn't have the slightest feeling of cheating. I really feel sorry for the profession of time traveler. Forget it, forget it. After complaining for a while, Shiyu relaxed physically and mentally. The weather has been getting colder and colder recently, and Saitama reckons that this climate will continue for a while, but since simulating the ninjutsu of Thunder Chakra mode, his physique is completely worthy of such weather changes. When I got home, I chatted with Granny Xiang for a while, made some rice balls with her, and finished dinner like that. After the meal, Saitama continued to practice knives in the yard for a while. After eating away his appetite, he was going to go upstairs to continue studying ninjutsu. I heard that a novelty device appeared in the village recently, which can play purchased movies and dramas. Next time we meet, I can buy one for Grandma Xiang to spend time. Before going upstairs, he noticed that the lights in Granny Xiang's room were still on. Shiyu thought to himself. He still has a sum of money in his hand, enough for him to squander. Chapter 39. Those that grow on high places must be sour grapes? This is some basic information of the client. Take it back and read it and then destroy it. Fuyue handed Saitama a stack of papers. The task only requires you to ensure that the client reaches the capital safely, and you can take care of the rest. The implication is that in the mission, you only need to protect the mission target. Okay. Standing straight, Saitama took the information and nodded. Oh. Closing the door, Saitama left Fuyue's office, and now he still needs to go to Hokage to report. Wearing a black turtleneck jacket with a knife hanging from his waist, Saitama walked straight into the Hokage office building. Boom! Boom! After being guided by several silent ninjas wearing animal masks, Saitama did not get lost and successfully knocked on the office of the third generation. Please come in. A tired voice came from inside, and Shiyu pushed the door open and went in. Hokage-sama. Saitama lowered his head as he walked to the table. The third generation was still looking at a document, and did not answer immediately, but just pointed to the sofa next to him, signaling Saitama to sit there first. After nearly 10 minutes, Sandai breathed a sigh of relief, picked up the pipe that was idle on the right side of the table, and put it in his mouth. Uchiha Saitama? Sandai exhaled a puff of white smoke and said to Katama. Saitama stood up after a while, and said to Sandai, Yes, Sandai-sama. The gaze is fixed forward, and although the body is slightly bent, Saitama gives the impression that it is very tall and straight. I just graduated from ninja school for a year, but I have killed several enemy ninjas on the battlefield, and I have a combat power comparable to that of Jnin. The third generation is smoking a pipe, which does not prevent him from speaking slowly. Saitama didn't speak, and his eyes remained fixed. He knew that this information must have appeared on some people's desks long ago, which is not surprising. What a gifted child. It's rare to be so stable. Sandai squinted his eyes, his face was hazy by the smoke, and he couldn't help sighing in his heart. Page 87. For this mission, Fuyu recommended you to complete it. I wonder if you are sure. Sandai was not in a hurry at the moment, and started chatting with Chiyu. A ninja is a person who uses his life to complete tasks, and I will never disappoint the trust of the village. Saitama's voice was still terrifyingly calm, and at this time he became the silent ninja again. The client is an aristocrat in the capital city, and he needs you to escort him to the capital safely. The client is currently in Konoha, and you can go to him with the mission entrustment letter in a while, and start the mission according to his requirements. The third generation continued to smoking his big cigarette. He talked about it. The mission gold for this mission directly belongs to the war fund, and Saitama can't get a point, which is why each Konoha's family cannot rush to the battlefield during the war. Konoha will assign tasks to some families in the village, so that they will not go to the battlefield but will not be hated by civilian ninjas. After all, they are all contributing to Konoha. But such missions should not be underestimated. Some missions are not simple, even more difficult than going to the battlefield. The task level is tentatively set as A, although the client explained that he will definitely encounter ninjas on the road, and even Jounin. This does not mean that the village will rate it as S. Sandai continued talking. His eyes fell on Saitama. He wanted to see how Saitama would react, however, he was disappointed. Chiyu was still in the calm state of listening carefully. No problem. Saitama nodded. Just listening to Sandai's introduction seemed to be within his ability. This is the photo of the client. He should be in the izakaya on the commercial street, the biggest one. You can go and look for it first. The third generation handed over a photo. Yes. After taking the things, Saitama bowed again to Sandai and left the Hokage building. Ha ha. Drink. Keep drinking. Your Excellency is really powerful. Your Excellency is mighty. Your Excellency will definitely overwhelm your opponent. Ha, you are down. Your Excellency has won. Come on, let's continue. Why did you get down? Chiyu frowned when he heard such a voice as soon as he walked to the door of the izakaya. Stepping forward, Chiyu saw the chaotic side. There were a few people standing sparsely in the lobby, and more people were already lying on the ground or slumped on their seats, and the room smelled of alcohol, and a strong man who was standing was holding a jar of wine and walking in the lobby swinging his legs, and he was about to fall down. Finding a clean seat everywhere, Chiyu decided to sit down first, because he saw that the man who was holding a wine tank and doing a drunken fist was the client of this task. Bick. The strong man walked up to Chiyu and burped Chiyu. The pungent smell of alcohol rushed towards Chiyu. Chiyu was expressionless, just looking straight at the strong man with calm eyes. Crack. Throwing the commission letter on the table in front of him, so that the strong man could see it, Chiyu pressed it down with his hand again, so that the few people who were about to come over could not see the commission letter. Hi. The burly man stared at the power of attorney, then left the table with the wine jar in his arms. Hi. That's all for today, I'm going to rest. Next time, please have a drink. The strong man turned around and shouted loudly. Although his tone was still drunk, he didn't seem to have lost consciousness. Herp. All right, my lord can take a rest. Come again tomorrow. Let's go. See you another day. Several people in neat dark clothes appeared around the lobby, helping those who were staggering to leave the izakaya, and several unconscious people were carried out by those people. As for where it was sent, Saitama didn't care. My lord ninja, my lord is going to take a break. Can you change a store? This is my lord's kindness. A man with a mustache walked to Saitama's table and handed over a money ticket. Put it on the table, the amount is not small, enough to drink in any izakaya in Konoha for an afternoon. Steward, no need. This is the ninja who took our mission. The thick voice sounded from behind the mustache. It was the drunken strong man. Yes. Bazito looked at Chiyu in surprise. The surprise deep in his eyes could not be concealed. Hello? There was still a smell of alcohol in his mouth, but the strong man's eyes had recovered, and he was completely free of the previous drunkenness. The izakaya has been taken over by the strong man's people, and no one is surprised by the strong man's performance. Hello? Standing up, Chiyu stretched out his hand to hold the right hand that the strong man handed over. The hands are rough, and there are hard calluses at the tiger's mouth. This is Saitama's first feeling after shaking hands. It seems that the strong man is not as simple as it looks, at least not the kind of delicate nobleman. Gah! Pulling out a chair, the burly man sat in front of Saitama, with a mustache standing not far behind him, keeping a certain distance from the burly man. Uchiha Saitama. I will escort you on this mission. Tiger in early spring. Your client. The strong man stared at Chiyu, his eyes did not show contempt just because Chiyu looked young. You are the only one on this mission? Although Saitama looks very steady, but his own life is at stake, and he dare not be sloppy in early spring. Yes. Saitama nodded with a calm face. What? How could Hokage do this? Before Zhaochuan Shahu could respond, the mustache behind him yelled. He stood by the table with a slightly angry tone, as if he was blaming Hokage for not paying attention to this mission. Housekeeper? Zhaochuan Shahu's tone became more serious, and he was a little dissatisfied with the mustache. Sorry, my lord. I'm impatient. Mustache lowered his head, stepped back, and stopped talking, but there was still an angry look on his face, but he suppressed it to prevent it from bursting out. You should be from the Uchiha family in the village? There was no honorific in Zayakunsayahu's speech, and it was straightforward, but Saitama didn't feel uncomfortable listening. Ah. Such a young jonin? It's really amazing. Shahu's tone in early spring sighed. Saitama seemed to him only in his teens, and a jonin at this age is a genius in any ninja village. I'm a chunin. Saitama replied calmly. He felt that there was no need to hide anything. The beginning of the mission required mutual trust. After hearing Saitama's words, Zhaochuan Shahu frowned. He didn't expect that Saitama was just a chunin. After all, he had already said in the mission that there was a high probability that he would encounter a jonin in the middle of the mission. Is my village so weak now? Shahu's heart became irritable for no reason. Page 88. Bearded who blushed again when he heard Saitama's words, but he seemed to have thought of something, and remained motionless. You said your name was Uchiha Saitama, didn't you? Thinking that Saitama was still a chunin, Zaharo Shimotora suddenly thought of a little information he had exchanged with Konoha's ninja not long ago. Yeah. Saitama didn't say much, just stared into his eyes. The one from Sand Ninja Battlefield? Zaharo Zayatora remembered that information, a somewhat unbelievable information. Just came back from there. Shiyu saw that he seemed to have heard some rumors about himself. I didn't expect that even these nobles knew about it. Saitama was still a little surprised. After all, not all of his own clansmen knew about his performance on the battlefield, but now he was known by a nobleman living in the capital. Then I have no problem. I hope Mr. Ninja will take care of you. Zhaochuan Shahu stood up and bowed. The mustache tugged at the back. No? A chunin started the mission directly? What's the matter, my lord? Although his eyes were a bit puzzled, his nature of obeying orders all the year round made him not question him. All he needed to do was to complete the instructions of the adults. Command, we'll set off in the afternoon. Turning around and talking nonsense, Zhaochuan Shahu looked back at Shiyu hesitantly. I can do it any time, you arrange it. Saitama nodded, signaling Zhaochuan Shahu to follow his ideas. That's it, go down and clean up. Early spring Shahu waved his hand. Then I'll come over later, you guys get ready first. Shiyu said to Zhaochuan Shahu, seeing that the handover was officially completed here. Okay. That. You can call me Kitama directly. Seeing that Zhaochuan Shahu seemed not used to using common people's respectful titles for ninjas, Saitama prompted. Then Saitama, see you later? Ah. Get up, leave the izakaya, and leave behind this group of people. My lord. After Chiyu went out, Bazihu walked up to Zhaochuan Shahu. There is no problem with the strength of this ninja, so don't worry. Zhaochuan Shahu knew what Bazihu was thinking. Don't underestimate a chunin, especially Konoha's ninja. Zhaochuan Shahu continued, and then sat there, thinking of something. The character who watched the early spring in the tiger, and chose to trust his lord, walked to the side and ordered others to do things. They need to tidy up before setting off. Things in the capital can't be delayed any longer. After waiting in Konoha for so long, although Zhaochuan Shahu didn't say anything, he must be anxious. Although Chiyu told Grandma Xiang that he was going out to receive a mission, he didn't tell her that he would leave the village today. Taking advantage of the fact that the client also needs to clean up, Chiyu decided to go back and tell Granny Xiang. Mother-in-law. Are you back, Saitama? It was only around 10 o'clock in the morning, and Grandma Xiang was staying in her room watching TV. It was Chiyu who saw someone selling it in the commercial street a few days ago, and bought it back to relieve Granny Xiang's boredom. The TV is placed opposite Granny Xiang's bed, so that she can enjoy the TV while lying on the bed comfortably. There is a small cabinet next to the bed, and there are some photos on it. At a glance, they are all photos of Saitama and Grandma Xiang. From the photos, we can also see the changes of Saitama and Uchiha Xiang. One is getting more and more mature, and the other is getting older and older. And the biggest photo frame was taken by Chiyu at home on the New Year's Day. In the photo, Chiyu was smiling and standing behind Grandma Xiang, with his hands naturally on her shoulders, and Uchiha Xiang also has a kind face, enjoying the time spent with Saitama. Grandma, I'm going out of the village to do a mission. I'm leaving right away. I just want to tell you something right now. Chiyu said to Uchiha Xiang. Uchiha Xiang's pupils shrank without leaving a trace, and his tone was very relaxed. Well, Chiyu, be careful, don't worry about the old woman, my body is stronger than Chiyu imagined. Well, that mother-in-law takes care of herself. I'm leaving. Chiyu nodded, went to the bed and pressed the quilt for Grandma Xiang, then got up and left. Hey! Uchiha Kaoru couldn't help but sigh when Saitama closed the door. Is she the only one who still treats Saitama as a child under the age of 8? Falling into memories, Uchiha Xiang lost interest in watching TV, and the TV in front of him became dull. Turning his head, Uchiha Xiang saw those photos. Tick! Water drops fell on the ground, breaking the tranquility. The time for the target to leave the village has been determined. Please give instructions. Leave it to others, you go down. Yes. In the darkness, silence was restored again. It's like an ancient place, ethereal and uninhabited. Throat. It seems that the crutches hit the ground, the sound of footsteps echoed here, and some faint shadows flickered past in this space full of pipes. Chapter 40. In Sandai's office, Hiruzuru Sarutobi looked at the sky outside the window, smoking a big cigarette alone, and the smoke was lingering. Chapter 40. We each work hard, see you at the top. When he came to the izakaya again, Chiyu saw a group of people who had packed up. There were nearly 10 servants accompanying him, and a housekeeper with a mustache. The last one was the client, the tiger in early spring. Kitama. Let's go then. Zhaochuan Shahu had already sat in his carriage and waved to Kitama. Okay. Nodding, Saitama jumped and landed on the top of the carriage and sat cross-legged. Fortunately, the roof of this carriage is flat, not the pointed one in my memory. Saitama sat on it, thinking of the ancient costume movies in his memory for no reason. A few servants fell behind, and mustaches sat in front of the carriage and drove the horses. After registering at the gate of Konoha, Saitama and others left the village in a mighty way. According to this speed, Chiyu guessed in his heart that it should be half a month before arriving in the capital. No way, Saitama can't abandon those servants yet, so he can only sit in the carriage and practice chakra microcontrol boringly. It was noon when we left the village, heading east. The convoy marched for most of the afternoon, and didn't stop until just before sunset. My lord, are you going to spend the night here tonight? Bazihu bent over and reached out to help Zhao-chun Shahu off the carriage, but was slapped away by Zhao-chun Shahu. Tell him to light a fire and cook something to eat, and then set up the tent. I have some blankets in my carriage, which can be taken out, this damn weather. The tiger fell to the ground in early spring, and while stroking the horse pulling the cart, he gave orders to the mustache. Yes. I'll do it right away. Mustache seemed to be used to the habit of hunting tigers in early spring, nodding and bowing without a word of objection. After finishing speaking, the mustache turned around and looked for the servants in dark clothes behind him. Chiyu, do you want to come down and take a rest? Baziha left, and Zayakunksayaho looked up and said, I'm going to take a look around. Saitama stood up, patted the dust that didn't exist on the bottom of his trousers, and looked around. This is already a forest, and it is far away from my village. I have to say that Saitama's estimate was still wrong. He originally thought that due to the existence of the servants behind, the speed of the convoy would be very slow, but in fact, he had to say that the people in the ninja world had really good physical fitness, the carriage did not deliberately slow down, and those servants could still run behind follow-up. His eyes stayed on those servants for a few seconds. Shiyu stepped on his feet and jumped around. He needed to confirm the surrounding situation. Whoosh! Shutting through the gaps in the surrounding trees, Saitama circled around the place where the convoy camped to confirm the situation one by one. My lord, sit down. The character mustache has been arranged according to Zhaochuan Xiaohu's instructions. At this time, a chair was pulled out from somewhere and placed behind Zhaochuan Xiaohu's buttocks. Nodding, early spring Xiaohu didn't pay much attention, his eyes scanned the surrounding woods. Bring me something to drink. After driving for such a long time, I'm a little thirsty. He took a nap in the car as soon as he got in the car, and he didn't feel too tired. Yes. Mustache turned and left, and came back with a wine jar after a while. My lord, this is the Konoha sake that I brought with me when I left. Well, not bad. Early spring Xiaohu was a little surprised, took the wine jar, tore off the seal, and took a deep sniff at the mouth of the jar. Konoha's sake actually tastes better than those in the capital, so bring some more next time. Zhaochuan Xiaohu took a big sip and squinted his eyes. As soon as he came back from inspection, Shiyu saw Zhaochuan Xiaohu who was holding a wine can and drinking, his brows knit together. You like drinking so much? Saitama said, if he remembered correctly, he drank like that before leaving, even if he wasn't drunk. Although Xiaohu in early spring does not look like the kind of person who would get into trouble because of drinking, in Shiyu's heart, it is difficult for people who cannot control their desires to achieve great things, or they cannot be truly powerful. This is someone else's business, Shiyu has no reason to take care of it, just stand aside and watch those people busy building camp and lighting fire to cook. Kitama, come and eat something. Zhaochuan Xiaohu called Shiyu by the fire over there, holding the leg of an unknown animal in his hand. No, you guys eat. Saitama took out the dry food he had prepared, some cakes that were durable and could be stored for many days. This is the food that ninjas must bring when they go out of the village to perform long-term missions. Because of the mission, they cannot rely on everything outside, and no one can know whether other people's food is poisonous or not. Okay, then we'll eat it ourselves. He raised the meat in his hand. Zhaochuan Xiaohu didn't continue to call Shiyu, he knew some ninja rules. Although he also wanted to eat the oily meat, Saitama's eyes fell on the dry biscuits in his hand, chewing bite by bite. After dinner, 4 tents were also set up in this open space, one belonged to the mustache, and the other 3 belonged to those followers. As for Saitama, he asked to rest on the roof of the car, because Xiaohu also slept in the car at night. The space in the car is quite large, enough to sleep in early spring, and the bed inside is comfortable and spacious. Sitting on the roof of the car, Saitama looked up at the starry sky. The environment of Naruto world is really good. There are so many stars at night. Saitama kept vigilant while listening to the snoring sound coming from the car. He was the only one on this mission, and he had to be vigilant all the time. In the afternoon, he was in that half-rest and half-vigilant state, just to recharge his energy for the evening. After all, there are still servants who stay awake during the day, but at night these people are all asleep. Saitama took out the knife, pointed at the sky, and slowly lay down on the roof of the car. Wow! The knife slashed through the air and made a sound. Putting the knife beside him casually, Saitama clasped his hands behind his head, pursed his lips and smiled. He really likes such a peaceful environment. He is the only one who stays awake, which makes him feel that the world only belongs to him. Page 90. Kick. The insignificant sound of footsteps was caught by Saitama's ears, his hand touched the knife instantly, and he sat up immediately, his eyes fell on the place where the sound came from. Hello? Choose this way to greet you. 2 masked figures appeared on the branch over there, and the speaker was wearing a Sura mask. Without speaking, Saitama's footsteps were very light, and he fell to the ground. He didn't feel any hostility from these 2 people. Who are you? Saitama looked at the 2. We have met before, and my companion still suffered a little at your hands. Do you remember? The ninja with the Shura mask was still talking. Gen? Saitama uttered at the right time, thinking of the Genbu ninja who was trembling with fright in his mind. What's the matter with you? Saitama's tone was still puzzled. It stands to reason that Danzo's bad attitude towards Uchiha shouldn't make him show kindness to himself again and again. It's the same reason as last time. We invited you to join us. We have seen your talent for all to see. I hope you will consider it carefully. Shura's tone was flat, without any fluctuation, like a machine. I'm from Uchiha, why did I join an inexplicable unit? Saitama smiled ironically. Because the Lord needs your talent. Shura's tone was a little stiff, as if he was emphasizing something. Hee, so what if I don't join you? Shiyu felt that the aura of the two people in front of him began to change. They were no longer so friendly, and their tone became more serious. My lord said that it would be best if we could let Saitama join us, but if he doesn't cooperate, he can go back with only a pair of eyes. Shura's eyes were exposed through the holes in the mask, bloodshot. Interesting. The electric arc on his body began to flicker, and Saitama jumped to the nearby woods. He felt that there was no need to disturb the people here. Chasing. Shura spit out a sentence, and the ghost-masked man behind nodded. Uchiha Saitama, you really don't agree? Shura stood not far in front of Saitama, his body became more and more unfriendly, as if to make a final reminder. You're going to goog my eyes, how can I stand and let you do it? Saitama uttered a sentence, and with a movement of his footsteps, he preemptively struck. Boom! A kick kicked Shura in the face, and in a flash of thunder, the knife greeted the evil ghost. Oomph! I don't know what to do. Shura said to Chiyu like a normal person after being kicked. Ha! Saitama was a little surprised, he really hit the kick just now, even a jonin couldn't get through it. Buzz! The sound of flapping wings sounded around, and dense black shadows surrounded the place. It was already night, and the line of sight was obstructed, and those bugs were small, with solemn eyes, so Katama silently opened Sharingan. That pair of eyes is what your lord wants? Shura whispered, he has seen many sharing eyes of Sanguyu, but he still doesn't care about Shuanguyu. With both hands raised flat, palms pointing at Saitama, swarms of insects began to rush towards Saitama. Using Sharingan, Saitama's vision is no longer restricted by the night, and he can see every move of the enemy and the trajectory of those bugs. Fizz. Crackling. Chidori flow gathers in the hands, and then transmits to the knife. Ha! The evil spirit rushed over first, and punched Saitama with a punch. He had just been slashed to the body by Saitama's knife, leaving a shallow wound on his chest, but Saitama's Chidori style made him the muscles around the wound lost their senses. Although very angry, the evil ghost did not lose his mind, and continued to cooperate with Shura. The swarm was behind him, and the fist was in front of Saitama in an instant. Say! A knife slashed his arm, making a metallic sound. Saitama's knife was blocked and did not cause any harm to the evil spirit. Looking closely, the evil ghost's arm was brown and black, like a rock, and the attack just cut in for a few minutes before it was stuck, and did not cause any real damage. Wang. While he was thinking, the swarm of insects rushed towards him. Hiss. Chidori flow covered the whole body, and then radiated out from the body as the origin. Clap clap clap. The corpses of the bugs fell to the ground like rain, and soon piled up like snow at the feet. Bang! Without noticing, the evil ghost hit his face with both fists. The hard fist, like a stone, hit the face firmly. Put! The teeth collided with the lips, and blood burst out immediately. Bah! Shiyu jumped back, avoiding another attack from the evil spirit. Shiyu spit out a mouthful of saliva with blood, and his face became cold. Oomph! Shura stood behind the evil ghost again, staring straight at Shiyu. He and the evil ghost have always existed as a combination, one in front to attract the attention of the enemy, and the other in the back waiting for an opportunity. Saitama held the knife across his chest, not caring about the blood dripping from his mouth, and became more vigilant in his heart. That evil ghost seems to have practiced a ninjutsu similar to the earth spear technique. His body is very hard, and he is even more difficult to deal with than the sand ninja he met before. The other one should be an insect control master of the Yund clan. In the fight just now, Saitama only got these insignificant information, but he knew in his heart that his information would definitely be kept in mind by the enemy, so he pursed his lips, thinking about the next attack. Chapter 41 Dying, like water disappearing in water. Kick. Blue and white currents surged through the woods. Crackling. Kicking on the evil ghost's chest, Shiyu half bent his body and stomped hard. Oh! The whole person immediately jumped into the air, and the knife in his hand was filled with thunder. Page 91. Whoosh! Throwing it, Sura was not far behind the evil ghost, and the knife was in front of him in a blink of an eye. Hiss! Regardless of Shura behind him, he threw the knife in his hand, and Shiyu immediately fell down. Die! At this time, the evil ghost had already reacted, clenched his fists, and smashed towards the falling Saitama. Boom! Saitama caught the enemy's attack with his hands. Hiss! Gathering his breath, Saitama felt how stupid he was to fight with such a barbarian. But after his body was polished by lightning, Saitama only felt a little pressure, and it was not at all unbearable for him. After a fight with the enemy, Saitama's body was like a wild goose, flying in the direction of Shura. Although the knife just now was fast, Saitama didn't expect to kill the enemy with one blow. And the fact is also like this: the knife clip with the power of thunder passed through Shura's body, and went straight to the ground, sinking a little, but Shura's body turned into countless bugs, which scattered away the moment the knife passed through. Pulling out his ninja sword, Saitama quickly reversed a few times to open the distance. And Shura slowly appeared beside the evil spirit from the ground, touching his shoulder. There was a wound there, which should be caused by Chiyu's attack just now. Be careful, this kid's speed is a bit weird. Shura said in a deep voice. Evil Ghost Muran nodded, his eyes were still on Chiyu. Shadow Clone Technique. Seeing the enemy's performance, Saitama made a ninja seal. Boom! The white smoke dissipated, revealing another Saitama. Looking at each other with a smile, Saitama nodded and rushed out. Dare to use the shadow clone at this time, I really don't know how to die. The evil spirit stared at one of Saitama with fierce eyes, and then ran over. Tap tat tat. His footsteps were heavy, like a stone man running. This should also be the drawback of his ninjutsu. He gave up the speed of movement and strengthened his defense. Sharingan sent out a decisive look. Saitama wanted to kill with one blow. Chidori said silently in his heart. While running, Saitama sent chakra to his right hand, and the arcs began to gather there. Hiss! A group of dazzling thunder and lightning appeared in the night, and a palpitating feeling appeared on Shura and the evil ghost. Death! At this time, the evil spirit seemed to be unable to avoid it, so he roared and continued to rush over. I saw him lying on his side, with his right hand accumulating strength behind him, and then he smashed it out. Crack! Shoo! Saitama's speed accelerated again the moment the two touched, and at that second he stimulated the muscles in his legs with chakra. Use Sharingan to see the trajectory, and then dodge with speed. Saitama's right hand sank into the enemy's chest. Ha! The evil ghost couldn't believe that he would die so hastily until his death. Crackling! The Chidori in his hand bloomed again, annihilating the last vitality of the enemy. On the other side, the avatar is still entangled with the root ninja of the Shura mask. What? Shura couldn't believe it. His partner just died like this? My heart began to panic, and the movements of my hands slowed down. Boom! The avatar kicked him in the abdomen, but his eyes fell on the tree beside him. Sharingan clearly saw that the enemy had just used a substitute technique. It's troublesome. Shura's face turned pale. He didn't expect Saitama's strength to be so strong, and he could instantly kill a companion with such a high defense. And in front of those sharing eyes, he couldn't use ninjutsu to escape. As long as he used ninjutsu, Chiyu would be aware of it. After clearing away the genin who was wearing the evil ghost mask, Saitama's body also surrounded him, and surrounded the remaining enemy with the clone. Is there anything else to say? Saitama held the knife in his hand, and the electric arc flashed in his right hand, which was very charming. Hee hee, my lord will avenge us. Saitama, you won't be proud for long. If it's your kind of rotten watermelon next time, I'll cut it casually. Saitama narrowed his eyes and smiled mockingly. Knowing that he couldn't run away today, Genrin didn't have the slightest fear. Death was not scary to him. Buzz buzz. The swarm seemed to sense his state of mind and began to agitate. After all, the worms bred in the human body would die with his death. Shoo! Secret technique insect tornado. Countless insects appeared under his feet, surrounding Saitama's body in the middle. The bugs began to spin like a tornado at an extremely fast speed, and countless bugs began to bite towards Saitama inside. Hiss! Chidori's fluid exploded, instantly killing countless bugs. Wow! The knife in his hand slashed forward, cutting a hole in the insect tornado, and Chiyu jumped out. Kick! He reached in front of Shura in an instant, and stabbed him in the chest with his stunned expression. Death is like the wind. It won't be long, Kitama. The corners of Shura's mouth under the mask rose, and he looked at Kitama blankly. Boom! The shadow clone was released, and the clone disappeared, and there were 2 more corpses on the ground. Page 92. The battle here lasted only a few minutes. There was not much movement, and it was far away from the camp. Chiyu was not worried about waking up those people. Too lazy to clean up the corpses, Chiyu knew that there were many wild beasts in this deep forest, and they would be divided and eaten by hungry beasts tomorrow morning. Wiping the sweat from the battle on his forehead, and touching the wound in his mouth with his tongue a few times, Saitama walked back slowly. The fight came and went even faster, and it was Saitama who won the final victory at the cost of a few mouthfuls of blood. Crack! The fire creaked, and the flames shot up vigorously. As soon as he returned to the camp, Saitama saw a person beside the fire. The fire was specially made to drive away wild animals. Saitama was also very familiar with that figure, and it was the client of this mission. Okay? Shavu threw a branch into the fire in early spring. His tone was like an old friend talking. It's okay, it's settled. Saitama responded casually. Are you awake? Asked Zayakunksayahu. Chiyu sat by the fire. No, I got up to go to the bathroom and found you were gone, and then I heard some noises. Early Spring Shahu yelled, with one hand next to his mouth, showing that he was not awake. You used to be a ninja too, right? Saitama asked curiously. He had noticed the chakra in his body when he first met Zouchu and Shahu. Ha! He smiled wryly, and then showed an expression of reminiscence. I don't have ninja talent. Although I used to yearn for the ninja life where thousands of people would go for it, I failed later. Now I am just an ordinary warrior general. Early Spring Shahu opened the chat box. Although I don't have the talent to be a ninja, my talent as a warrior is not bad. Zouchuan Shahu was a little bit embarrassed, and seemed to want to continue. Go and rest, I'm here to watch. Saitama has no intention of continuing the chat. He is just a task entruster, and after the task is over, he will probably never see the second side in this life. The world of ninjas is different from that of ordinary people. Even the rich and powerful cannot close the distance with ninjas. Okay, I'm sleepy too, go back to sleep. Getting up, Zouchuan Shahu originally wanted to pat Chiyu on the shoulder, but under Chiyu's gaze, he smiled and withdrew his hand, and there was a trace of embarrassment on his face expression. Ha! Seeing the client getting into the car, Saitama turned his head to stare at the fire, and heaved a sigh of relief. He found that since he became a ninja, the change in his mentality made it more difficult for him to communicate with ordinary people. His eyes stayed on the flame for a moment, and Saitama also stood up and walked towards the car. Jumping on the roof of the car, and wrapping the blanket that was given to him before the tiger in early spring, Chiyu felt that winter is also worthy of respect. Nothing happened in the second half of the night, but some blind beasts appeared around the camp, as if they wanted to declare their sovereignty, and then they were knocked down by Saitama several times, and they stayed there waiting to be made into food. Pa-ta! The curtain of the car was pulled open. Zouchuan Shahu came out with a refreshed face, and said to Saitama on the roof of the car. Morning. Saitama. Well, morning. What is this, so fragrant? Jumping out of the car, Zhaochu and Xiaohu followed the smell to the fire. Mustache and a group of servants got up early, and Saitama gave them the beast he had killed last night, and they roasted it on their own. The aroma is naturally coming from the meat. This is the prey that Mr. Ninja hunted. We roasted these and prepared to take them on the road. The mustache said respectfully to Zhaochu and Xiaohu. That's right, bring me a leg and taste it first. I'm hungry just smelling it. With a wave of his hand, General Xiaohu issued an order. Okay, my lord. The character Mustache absolutely carried out the order of the tiger in early spring, and ran to the side to get what the adults needed. Chewing one leg happily, Zhaochu and Xiaohu patted his stomach contentedly, then asked Bazihu to bring a bottle of wine, and drank there. Shiyu was wearing a knife, turning a blind eye to all this, his eyes half closed. He didn't have much rest all night, although he was still full of energy. It didn't prevent him from letting himself take a rest. Let's go when you're ready. Time waits for no one. Climbed into the carriage, Zhaochu and Xiaohu ordered. Yes. Your Excellency. They are already packing up, and we shall be up in a short time. It took another half an hour. The servants packed what they needed, and Saitama and his party were on their way again. Today's weather is very good, the sun is shining brightly, the sun is warm on the body, the temperature is starting to turn, and the breath of spring is beginning to approach. Sitting cross-legged on the roof of the car, Saitama put the knife in his hand and fell asleep. Due to his sensitivity to chakra, he was born with a scouting attribute, and he could perceive chakra fluctuations within a radius of several hundred meters even if he deliberately sensed them. With this small method, Saitama does not need to observe slowly with his eyes, but this method also has disadvantages. Those who actively suppress their own chakra and lower their aura are not within his perception range. Maybe when his strength continues to increase in the future, this small skill can also be strengthened, allowing him to perceive enemies who hide himself, but the current Saitama can't do this. Ho-hoo! The horses pulling the cart were venting their anger. The convoy had come to a river, and the carriage also stopped. Some servants went to the river to fill the water to supplement the convoy's consumption. Saitama? Zhaochu and Xiaohu's voice came from the car. Yes, what's the matter? Saitama took the knife in his hand and jumped in front of the carriage, where the mustache was sitting there controlling the horse. It's okay, I just want to ask where this is? I'm not very familiar with this area. Early spring, Xiaohu said again. Shiyu frowned. He didn't know himself, he was following the convoy all the time. My lord, I have a map here. Mustache said at the right time, and pulled out a stack of animal leather maps from under his buttocks. Show me. Chapter 42. It is good. Chapter 42. As long as your heart is kind, right or wrong is someone else's business. My lord, here it is. The mustache handed the map into the car, making him look funny with a cat on his back. Shiyu also leaned over to see where he was. Although he has been to the capital, who remembers so many places? We should be here now. As expected of a general, early spring Xiaohu quickly found the current location of the convoy on the map. This river is called the Goddess River. It is said that the goddess Yuo passed by in ancient times, and the river that appeared after it should be quite famous in the vicinity. Bazihu spoke at the right time and became a qualified commentator. Goddess of Mao? Kagaya Heim? Saitama smiled, looking at the river with interest. My lord, the supplies are complete, and we can set off. A servant walked up to the carriage and spoke respectfully. Okay then, get ready to go. Bazihu waved the whip in his hand and shouted loudly. Look at this, we've walked almost 1/5 of the way, and it's still pretty fast. General Xiaohu touched his fat face, his eyes burning brightly. Kick! Saitama fell to the roof of the car again and became alert. The convoy began to move forward slowly, everyone was very quiet, only the yelling of the mustache kept ringing. The convoy had already reached a mountainous area, with low hills on both sides, and the carriage was advancing on the main road in the middle. Looking around, Saitama noticed something unusual. Stop! Said in a deep voice to the mustache. Shiyu had already held the knife in his hand. He sensed chakra fluctuations on the mountains on both sides of the road, and there were quite a few of them. Those who came were not good, and they should be the enemies of the tigers in early spring. Ha ha. General, I didn't expect us to meet here. Sure enough, as soon as Katama called to stop, a voice came from the mountain. Boom! A lot of people appeared on both sides of the mountain, all of them were wearing uniforms, and the one who spoke was a warrior in red armor. Shimada. At this time, early spring Shahu also came out of the carriage and stood at the front of the carriage. His voice was surprised, as if puzzled by the man's presence. The general was surprised? Didn't expect it to be me? Shimada pinched his chin and smiled mockingly. Shimada is a tall and strong man, his physique is a circle bigger than Zhaochuan Shahu, so the expression on his face at this time is very inconsistent. Am I treating you badly? Shahu asked in early spring with doubts in his eyes. My lord treats me kindly, but I think I can become a general. Is there any conflict? Shimada shrugged. What do you want to show up here today, kill me? Shahu's eyes became calm in early spring, and his tone was stiff. Your Excellency is kind to me. If you let him go without a fight, I will definitely not hurt you. Shimada smiled. With so many people around him, he felt that the balance of victory was always tilting towards him. So there's nothing to talk about? Saitama stood up at the right time, stepping on the roof of the car, with a cold tone. Ha? Who are you? Shimada had long noticed the kid standing on the roof of the car. You don't care who I am. Saitama shook his head, stroking the ninja knife hanging on his waist with his hand. His voice was very small, as if he was talking to himself. Since the general blocks my way, I have no choice but to offend the subordinate. Shimada waved his hand in a gloomy voice. Go! Live or die. The samurai on both sides drew their swords and came towards the convoy. Although the warriors in the ninja world are not as powerful as ninjas, they are also a force that cannot be underestimated. Saitama heard the sound of drawing a knife before he could make a move. Turning his head, the servants he thought of were all armed with simple knives, and their eyes became sharper. Kill these traitors and protect the glory of Mr. Early Spring. The leader said loudly, and then rushed out to meet the enemy coming down from the mountain. The number of enemies is about 4 or 5 times that of the servants who followed the convoy all the way, but they don't have the slightest fear in their eyes. I'm laughing. Saitama stood on the carriage and heard Zhaochuan Shahu's words. Isn't politics like this? Interest is the strongest bond. After Chiyu finished speaking, Zhaochuan Shahu's body trembled, and his eyes closed and opened again as if resigned to fate. I originally regarded Shimada as my successor. I have no heirs, and I was looking forward to letting him take over my seat in a few years. I didn't expect it. He. The voice of Shahu in early spring trembled, and his hands were tightly wrapped around his thighs. Pinched sideways. Here we come. Saitama muttered impatiently. Bang! With a kick, his whole body was shot out like an arrow, and the carriage shook suddenly under such an impact. Page 94. I didn't expect you to be a ninja. The one who spoke was a ninja wearing a leather armor and a mist ninjutsu forehead protector on his head. He was holding a long sword half the height of a person. Treason? Saitama landed in front of the enemy. Oomph, kid, prepare to die. Ninjutsu mist hidden technique. The enemy made a ninja seal, and a white mist began to fill the surrounding area. How do you want to die? Konoha's ninja. The voice came from all directions, and Saitama stopped and looked around intently. He knew this ninjutsu. Momochi Zabuzen had used it when fighting Kakashi's team, summoning fog to block the enemy's sight. It is matched with Kigakushi silent killing technique. This ninjutsu can cover up one's breath, making it even more difficult for enemies whose sight is blocked to track you. Sharingan. Saitama didn't dare to be sloppy. This traitorous ninja is not low in strength, and he is also good at this kind of assassination technique. He must be careful. Shwa! The long knife suddenly appeared in front of Chiyu's chest. Chiyu quickly stepped back. The knife at his waist was pulled out and lay across his chest. It's interesting. Kirito's voice sounded again, But Saitama still couldn't judge the enemy's position. Do you choose to protect yourself? Or protect the client? The voice of the enemy induced Saitama. Ha! Saitama turned around abruptly, and quickly moved towards the location of Zhaochuan Xiaohu in his memory. Soon, Shiyu sensed a familiar aura, and quickly landed beside Zhaochuan Xiaohu. Stay here, don't move around. Zhaochuan Xiaohu seemed to be taken aback by Katama's sudden appearance, but recognized that it was Katama, and patted his chest to calm down. Is this Kirigakura's assassination technique? While speaking, Zaharo Zayatora leaned closer to Katama, but Saitama ignored him, still observing the surroundings with a serious expression, guarding against the enemy's attack. Zhaochuan Xiaohu showed a palpitation expression, and drew closer to Saitama. With the distance between the two of them less than half a meter, early spring Xiaohu showed a hint of ferocity, and took out a handful of kunai from between his sleeves. Shoo! Go to hell! Put! The head fell to the ground, and Zhaochuan Xiaohu's head fell to the ground. You think I'm an idiot? Saitama turned around, the ninja sword in his hand was still flashing with lightning. The tiger in early spring has also turned into a puddle of water and disappeared. It seems that this counterfeit is just a water body of the enemy. Wind escape big breakthrough. Saitama didn't want to continue playing this boring hide-and-seek game. The gust of wind spit out from Saitama's mouth, sweeping away the surrounding mist in an instant. Ha! The enemy appeared a few meters away from Saitama, and his body was covered with a layer of black and purple chakra. That's the silent killing technique. Saitama remembers using this ninjutsu before. Kick! Seeing the enemy's figure, Shiyu stopped hesitating and rushed away. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of the battle on the other side. Zhaochuan Xiaohu and the samurai named Shimada were already fighting together. You come and go. What? Before Miss Nin could react from the fact that the water body was seen through, the surrounding fog disappeared, and he was exposed to the enemy's vision. Damn it! Kirito cursed when he saw Saitama coming towards him, but he didn't move too slowly, and also came towards Katama. Since the assassination technique is ineffective, he should be tough. He doesn't believe that a Hunin who is proficient in killing techniques will lose to a young boy who looks very young. Ding! The two knives collided together, and the two faces also came together. Those eyes? Kirito saw Saitama's eyes. Boom! The right knee pushed up, and Saitama collided with the enemy's left leg. Hiss! Chidori flow erupted from all over his body. Saitama advanced instead of retreating, and greeted the enemy while pressing down on his body. Boom! Ding! Crackling! The two fought constantly, and the enemy's rich combat experience made Saitama suffer a lot, and every time he attacked, he went to some tricky positions. Shwa! Saitama's knife drew a white mark in the air with electric current. Boom! In the gap after swinging the knife again, a foot kicked over. At this time, the body was completely unable to avoid it, and Saitama had no choice but to burst out Chidori style again, forcing that foot to retract. Oomph! Kirito Ninja also sensed Saitama's difficulty. Quickly pulling away, Saitama frowned. Shwa! The knife waved a few times in front of him, and the 1,000 birds flowed continuously. Snapped! Saitama continued to attack fast. This time his speed was even faster, and the surging current gathered on his body to form a prototype of armor. Shwa! The enemy didn't completely dodge the knife, but it was still cut on the chest, and a bright blood cut appeared. Kuu! Saitama pressed on the enemy quickly, and Shiyu continued to attack, not giving Kirito Ninja a chance to breathe. The knife is like a net, covering the enemy inside. For a while, the enemy has no power to fight back, and passively bears Saitama's fierce attack. Ho! The knife pierced through the enemy's thigh, opening a blood hole, and blood gushed out directly. Ah! Wu Ninja couldn't stand the pain and screamed. Page 95. ZZ! The moment the knife was drawn, Chidori Ryu erupted again, causing Kirito Ninja's expression to change suddenly. Shwa! Even in such a situation, Kiranin still seized the opportunity to fight back, slashed out the knife in his hand, and the long knife went towards Saitama's neck. Sharingan had already observed the enemy's movements, so Saitama threw his head back, and the man fled behind. Damn it! Kirigashi covered his thigh, and blood spurted from the wound. The vicious gaze rested on Shiyu for a moment, his eyeballs rolled, and he seemed to have plans to escape, but he was still injured. How could he escape? Glancing around, Wu Ninja seemed to see life. Due to the injury to his thigh, Kiranin half-kneeled and fell to the ground. At this time, he stuck a knife into the ground and stood up with support. Ninja of Konoha, I quit this employment, please let me go, how about it? At this time, the enemy showed a stiff smile and flattered Saitama. Are you thinking too much? There is only one way to quit at this time, and that is death. Saitama turned a deaf ear and charged towards the enemy again. You forced me to do this. Gritting his teeth and dropping a sentence, the enemy took out a few detonating charms from the bag behind him, and smashed them at Saitama with kunai in his arms. Bang! 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 Ha! Quickly dodging the detonating talisman, Saitama saw that the figure of the enemy did not come towards him, or ran away directly, but went to the carriage over there. There was a figure huddled in the front of the car, trembling slightly. It was the butler with the mustache. Don't come here, I'll kill him one step further. Wu Ninja rushed to the carriage, hijacked the mustache housekeeper, and let out an uneasy roar. Saitama stood still, watching the enemy's next performance calmly. Ha ha! That Kiranin couldn't help laughing when he saw that Saitama was really stopped by his words. Let me get out of here, and I'll let this guy go. Kunai pressed against the throat of the mustache, and the front end of the mustache trembled into the flesh, and a trace of blood flowed down the skin. Chapter 43 Your viciousness and kindness are neither pure enough, so painful. Aha! Mustache was so frightened that he couldn't speak, his body couldn't help shaking, he was just a housekeeper. Oh. If you have any other ideas, you can tell them all and let me hear. The enemy showed a ferocious expression, and he heard the ridicule and banter in Saitama's tone. Damn it! As he said that, he was about to wipe off his mustache's neck, trying to think of another way to get out. Kunai stabbed suddenly, his mustache eyes showed despair, and then he closed them. ZZ! A blue-white figure flashed past, this time at an unprecedented speed, even faster than Kuwathorn. The moment Shiyu moved forward, he could see the dilated pupils of the enemy and the beard on the slightly pursed lips of the mustache. Ding! A knife appeared under kunai, and the enemy was immediately knocked away by a huge force, which was the foot kicked by Saitama. Put! Spit out a mouthful of blood, the enemy only reacted at this time, but it was too late. Pushing away the mustache, Saitama kicked his feet and caught up with the enemy's flying figure again. He. Die together. As expected of a traitor, seeing that he couldn't escape, he showed a crazy look. Crash! Pulling away the leather armor, revealing the body wrapped in the detonating talisman, the enemy activated the detonating talisman with chakra. The dangerous aura of his began to spread, and Saitama's face changed drastically. With so many detonating talismans, even if it's me, I can only go to see the Sage of the Six Paths. Thinking in his heart, Saitama twisted his body and planned to avoid it. Where to run? I was about to die, how could I not pull it back? Ren hugged Saitama desperately at the moment when Saitama made an evasive movement, even though Saitama's knife swung at him. Damn it! Saitama's body erupted with a strong Chidori flow, shaking the head of the enemy who was holding him tightly, but his hands still did not let go. Boom! It was time for the detonator to explode, and it exploded in the blink of an eye. A huge pit appeared on the spot, as well as burning broken clothes. Saitama's knife was inserted not far from the pit, but it was intact. Saitama? Mustache stood not far away. The explosion just now didn't cause much damage to him, it just scared him to the ground. The last scene he saw just now was the enemy hugging Saitama, followed by an explosion. Dead? Mustache felt a little uncomfortable. After all, Saitama died to protect his family. Plop! In the middle of the pit, the ground cracked, revealing a small hole, and a hand protruded from it. Ha! Mustache crawled to the edge of the pit, staring at the small hole. At this moment, he was not afraid that the one who survived would be the enemy. Ding! Although Zhaochuan Xiaohu didn't look good, he took the upper hand in the battle with the samurai named Shimada. Although there were some injuries on his body at this time, it was obvious that Shimada's injuries were more serious, with a big gash in his abdomen. Ho ho! Shimada seemed to have seen Saitama and the ninja he hired died together, and the samurai he brought was also killed by Zayakansai and his men, and he knew that the situation was over. The general is still like God's help, always turning bad luck into good fortune. But the final victory in this struggle will not belong to you, General. Shimada clutched his stomach, his mouth reluctant. You don't need to worry about that, Shimada. Chi-yu. A surprised voice came from the other side, and Zhaochuan Xiaohu recognized that it was the butler with the character Hu. Page 96. Call. Peeling off the soil covering his body, Saitama pulled himself out with his hands, breathing in fresh air. It's good to be alive. Turning over and lying on the ground, Chi-yu had countless large and small wounds on his body, which was very scary to watch. At the moment of the explosion, Saitama, unable to escape, had no choice but to resist hard, and used the maximum lightning chakra mode to cover his body with a layer of lightning armor. This time, Saitama used the rest of his body for most of the chakras. The armor is directly materialized, just like real armor. This is also the reason why Saitama did not die suddenly on the spot, but in such a situation, even such a strong defense could not be completely spared. The thunder armor was still blown to pieces, and the damage still affected Saitama. And Saitama used ninjutsu to dig a hole under his feet, and hid in it when the enemy died and the explosion was still going on. Chi-yu, are you alright? Bazihu saw that it was indeed Chi-yu who crawled out of the hole, and hurried over, trying to help him up. Don't move, lie down for a while. Saitama's voice was still very strong, and Mustache listened to him and didn't touch Saitama. On the other side, Early Spring Xiaohu smiled. It seems that the ninja you hired didn't get what you wanted. Humph. Shimada continued to put on a fighting posture. After relaxing on the ground for a while, Saitama got up by himself. The injuries on his body looked serious, but they were just marks left by some splash and burn injuries, and they didn't really pose much threat to Saitama. After such a short period of replenishment, the chakra in the body also returned to above the warning line. Bah! Saitama spit out a mouthful of muddy saliva at this time, holding his knees. He stood up slowly. The clothes on his body had already turned into beggar's clothes. Chi-yu didn't care, and when he tore them off, it touched some wounds, which made him grin his teeth. The battle of the servants is over, and I didn't see that these people's fighting power is still quite strong among ordinary warriors. Most of the dozens of warriors brought by Shimada were killed by these 10 or so people, and the rest knelt on the ground by themselves, shaking their hands. Up the white flag. Although 2 of these servants also died, their combat effectiveness was evident. Shimada also knelt in front of Zhaochuan Xiaohu. Of course, he didn't surrender. At this point, he didn't think he could survive. This kneeling was just being beaten. Kitama. Zhaochuan Xiaohu turned his head and nodded to Kitama, who looked miserable and half naked. The knife was also found by the character Hu, and it was still hanging on Chi-yu's waist at this time. Kill me, General. Shimada's knees were dripping with blood, which was from the wound on his abdomen. At this moment, his face was pale, and he seemed to be dying. Shimada. Zhaochuan seemed to hesitate a bit, and the weapon tightly held in his hand trembled intermittently. I don't need your sympathy. Come on in Early Spring. Come on. Shimada shouted out with the last of his strength. He chose to face death at this time, and he didn't feel any fear, but only a kind of relief. When he makes a choice for his own desire, he is already prepared, and he will be king or loser. Shwa! The knife slashed away, the head fell to the ground. Zhaochuan frightened, her eyes tightly closed, and her hands stopped shaking. Okay. The battle is over, Saitama said with a relaxed tone in such an atmosphere. Clean the battlefield and bury the dead soldiers. Zhaochuan Xiaohu looked at the several subordinates standing in front of him, and there were no familiar faces. Yes. The group of servants replied in unison, with solemn and serious expressions. While they were cleaning the battlefield, Saitama pulled out his own clothes and put them on. He was not an exhibitionist. We still have to be vigilant, maybe there are still enemies? Saitama didn't care about the power struggle that happened to Zouchu and Shahu, he only thought about how to complete his task well. Keep going. The convoy set off again, but there were many dead souls in that mountainous area. I hope they will have a good tire in their next life and not continue to live like this. Saitama, thanks to you for taking care of that ninja this time. The carriage continued to move forward, and said to Katama, who was on the roof in early spring. At this time, he and the mustache were sitting side by side, driving the carriage. It's a matter of duty in the mission. Saitama sat cross-legged on it, staring at the front. Switching to early spring Shahu driving, the speed is much faster than before. He seems to want to reach the capital earlier. The appearance of Shimada this time made Zouchu and Shahu feel that the situation seemed a little out of his control, so he had to speed up and rush to the capital. The convoy ran to the Black Sea, and everyone ate something and camped in place to rest. Really don't plan to eat some? Zouchu and Shahu held a large piece of breast meat and approached Shiyu. No, I'll eat dry food. Saitama still maintained his own rules and didn't plan to eat anything else during the mission. I don't know what's going on in the capital, alas. Biting a bite of flesh, Zayakungsayahu sighed. After fighting in the afternoon, Shiyu suddenly became interested in the matter of the tiger in early spring. After all, such things as subordinates hurting each other are quite popular in ordinary costume dramas. A minister in the capital has a grudge against me, and this time he is the one who wants to kill me, but I won't be caught without a fight. Yeah. Saitama continued to listen. Due to some reasons, the daimyo doesn't intend to intervene in our affairs, so this time it's a battle between me and that minister. And most of the civil servants in the capital seem to stand behind him, and I represent the generals of the country of fire. This time we will not continue to let him mess around. If we want to continue to be arrogant, we must step on my body. Shahu said in a deep voice in early spring, but did not continue. I'm going to check around. Standing up, Shiyu was about to walk around. Although he still has injuries on his body, Saitama's chakra has almost recovered, and a little injury does not affect his actions. The place where the convoy stopped this time is a flat land, but there is still a forest to the east, but it is not on the way Saitama and others are advancing. Today's moonlight is very bright, sparsely sprinkled on the earth, but Saitama's mood is not so good. After patrolling around, Shiyu went back to guard the camp. The consumption of him during the day was still quite high. Although he didn't say anything, his body was very honest. Shahu in early spring and his subordinates hadn't slept yet, they were sitting around a few piles of flames, chatting about something. Page 97. Mustache didn't get involved, he sat on the carriage, and together with Saitama on the roof, looked up at the starry sky. Speaking of which, Baziho had to walk between life and death today. If Chiyu hadn't given up saving him, his body would have been completely cold. Kitama, do you think my lord can win when I go back? Bazihu was very disturbed now. Even Shimada, who is highly valued by Zouchu and Shahu, has betrayed his lord. He can't imagine what it will be like in the capital. All his life, he followed the early spring to the tiger, or he and his ancestors were all members of the early spring family, so he couldn't imagine what would happen to him after the early spring and the tiger's accident. Maybe he went to the same dark place with the tiger in early spring, and then he slept forever? My mission doesn't include these things. I just need to deliver the early spring tiger to the capital safely. Saitama said indifferently, stretching his legs outside the carriage and supporting the edge of the carriage with his hands. That's right, these things have nothing to do with you, Saitama. Bazihu smiled, and deep in his eyes fell into thinking again. Maybe he was imagining his own fate in the future. I believe that my lord will be able to defeat that one. After an unknown amount of time, Mustache seemed to be talking to himself. His voice was insignificant. Maybe. Saitama narrowed his eyes, looked at the stars in the sky, and shrunk his mouth. Chapter 44. I bloom in the slaughter, like a flower in the dawn. The night ended in a hurry, and the character Mustache also put away other thoughts, and continued to concentrate on serving the tiger in early spring. The carriage continued to move forward. There were no enemies on the road these days, and everyone hurried on with peace of mind. Chirp! Passing through a forest, there was the sound of birds chirping, which made people sigh at the beauty of the environment. Kitama, one more day, we will be able to reach the capital. Zhaochuan Shahu was full of energy now. He stuck his head out of the car window, and said to Saitama, who was sitting on the roof. Okay. Saitama held his sword and stared straight ahead. The sooner he reaches the destination, the more Chiyu can't relax. He doesn't want to make mistakes at the last moment. Shwa! Saitama stood up. Sure enough, he would come to whatever he was more afraid of, and there were many chakra fluctuations in his perception. Tigers in early spring, I didn't expect that. A group of people directly blocked the intersection in front of them, and a middle-aged man in fancy clothes stood on a carriage and said, "Stop." Early Spring Shahu commanded Mustache to stop and walk to the carriage. Sanji Temple. Early Spring Shahu's tone was a little surprised. Didn't expect that I would come to greet you in person? Sanji Temple said. I really didn't expect you to have the guts to come to me directly. Do you think those rotten tomatoes beside you can stop me? Early Spring Shahu said calmly, without the slightest panic of being surrounded. Really? Seeing that you arrived here safely, I knew that Guy Shimada had failed. You think I won't make more preparations? Sanjoji stared at Zhaochuan Shahu with an idiot-like expression. You are the Konoha ninja hired by Zhaochuan, right? I didn't expect to be able to defeat Jonin at such a young age, but that's it for today. Raising his head slightly, Sanjoji said to Saitama standing on the roof of the car. Papa. Sanjoji clapped his hands, and 3 ninjas walked out from behind the carriage. That Gaikus is really useless. You can't kill such a kid. The ninja who came out showed a cruel sneer at Saitama, as if Saitama was already a plaything in his hands. Boy, you should regret coming to this world. It was another ninja who spoke, with a pockmarked face and a sledgehammer on his back. It looks pretty handsome, don't throw it away after you kill it, he. The last ninja smiled obscenely, his face was covered with small wounds, and when he spoke, it seemed that countless bugs were twisting and crawling, which made people shudder. Saitama frowned, remained silent, and did not speak. The 3 ninjas that appeared here are undoubtedly Jounin, and it seems that they are still the kind of team that cooperates all the year round. Saitama doesn't think he can protect Zaokung well when fighting them. There are also a lot of warriors around, there are hundreds of them. Looking at the number of enemies, Early Spring Shahu whispered. What to do, my lord? The character who shrank, trembling in front of the carriage. No one spoke. Zhaochuan Shahu's face was blank, and he didn't know what to do. I'll hold those 3 ninjas back, you guys find a way to break through. Saitama jumped off the carriage, touched the knife, and said in a deep voice, there was only so much he could do. Sure enough, such a task is not so easy to do. Saitama shook his head, and then straightened his posture, ready to meet the enemy. Hey, boy, you are very brave. I thought you would go back to find mother with your tail between your legs. The leading enemy laughed, and then started walking towards Saitama, and the other 2 followed, and now that they know that Saitama has the strength of Jounin, they will not choose to fight alone, and they will feel uncomfortable going up one by one, but there is nothing wrong with saying hello. Fizz. Chidoriya was spinning on the knife, and Saitama's Sharingan was already exposed, his body tensed up, ready to fight. Kick! The enemy, 20 meters away from Saitama, suddenly accelerated and rushed towards Saitama. Boom! Saitama also stomped on his feet, and rushed up extremely fast, staring at the 3 enemies. Although he knew that he was facing 3 Jounin, but he didn't know the information, he shouldn't rush so rashly. Go up! But Saitama knows in his heart that there is no other way but to do this. The speed was beyond the enemy's expectation, and his body deftly passed through the first enemy. Saitama slashed at the pockmarked face behind him. Among the 3, he was the only one with a weapon. Saitama decided to deal with the heavy weapon first. Ding! The hammer lay in front of Saitama, blocking his knife, but the enemy was still knocked back a few steps. With the sword drawn, Saitama was about to retreat. After all, this was an enemy room, so it was not good to stay longer. Ha! Saitama couldn't take his sword away at once, and even with a lot of strength, he still couldn't let the sword leave the hammer. There was a hint of doubt on his face, and when he looked up, Chiyu saw a smiling face behind the hammer, which was full of sinister and pockmarked faces. Boom! The wretched man at the side took advantage of this gap and punched Saitama. And the ninja who was passed by Chiyu also recovered, took out a kunai, and stabbed Chiyu in the back. Page 98. In an instant, there are dangers everywhere, the attack and defense changed instantly, and the hair on Saitama's body stood up. Push. Saitama had no choice but to let go of the knife in his hand, leap into the air, and fall to the side. The enemy's attack failed and did not continue to pursue. Hey, boy, how is it? Saitama heard Matsu's voice as soon as he landed. I saw him easily remove the saber belonging to Saitama from the hammer, waving it in mid-air with one hand, as if to show off. There is no weapon now, how can you fight? The wretched man said to Saitama. Don't talk nonsense, just kill this kid. The leading ninja said to his companions, staring at Saitama who was not panicking. Ha! Saitama glanced at the tiger in the early spring, who was also starting to fight, and saw that he was carrying a dozen or so people, slashing and killing one, and the guy called Sanguiji stood at the front of the car, a pair of winning tickets. The way he is holding it seems to have long expected the performance of the tiger in the early spring. The current on his body increased sharply, and Saitama felt that he had to solve the battle quickly, and he might not survive if he continued on in the early spring. Death! The leading ninja on the opposite side held the kunai and rushed to the front, with Matsu and the wretched man following half a meter behind him. Fire escape, the art of fireball. The hand quickly formed a seal, chakra brewed in the throat, and then turned into a huge fireball, which was spewed out. Disperse. The enemy separates, dodging Saitama's ninjutsu. Chidori. Aiming at the nearest ninja leader, Saitama dashed away, his hands shining brightly. Ha! With doubts in the eyes of the enemy who had just avoided the fireball, he saw Saitama who was killing him. Water escape, big water polo. He responded with a water polo, but his water polo was too small to compare to the fireball that Saitama just sent out. Shoo! With a stroke of his right hand, Saitama made a hole in the water polo, and the water polo was cut in half. Saitama continued to kill without reducing his speed. Die! The right hand first gained momentum in the back, and then was stabbed out, like an arrow from the string. ZZ! The right hand stabbed a huge hammer, breaking a small number of small holes on it. Saitama froze for a moment, his eyes half squinted, and then he jumped back, dodging a kick from the wretched man. Hey, there are 2 hits. The leading ninja said calmly. At that moment, he thought he was going to die. If it wasn't for his companion's hammer to block the seemingly formidable ninjutsu attack, he might have ended his sinful life. Even so, Saitama's ninjutsu pushed the hammer on his chest, not only making his chest tight, but also hit by the radiated electric current, causing his chest to numb. Fortunately, it wasn't a fatal injury. We have to find a way to separate them. Saitama knew in his heart that -v was not a good solution. Sir! The mustache exclaimed in surprise. Out of the corner of the eye, Saitama saw Zao Chunxiehu being slashed in the back during the siege. It's really annoying. Saitama was a little irritable. Bang! The hammer smashed where Saitama had just stood, but was dodged by Saitama. The enemy just launched an attack when he was distracted. Bang! With an electric current on his right foot, it collided with the wretched man. The electric shock caused his face to turn red and his body to twitch faintly. Chidori Ryu is really not that easy to deal with, and Saitama still recognizes his ninjutsu in his heart. Without waiting for Saitama to continue chasing, the next ninja's attack came before him again. The cooperation of these ninjas was very coherent, one after another. Although Saitama was not hit, he did not have much chance to fight back. Hee. The wretched man let out a weird laugh, and cooperated with the other 2 to continue to attack. I had already recovered from the previous Chidori flow. That's the only way. Saitama glanced at the Sanguiji temple standing at the front of the car, quietly watching the battlefield. Snapped. A punch hit the face of the pockmarked man who had just rushed in front of him, and the electric current raged on his face, leaving a conspicuous mark. Bang! The ninja from behind arrived again and launched an attack. Saitama, who wanted to punch another punch, was very depressed and quickly avoided it. Hey! The enemy followed, and the ninja leader's foot kicked Saitama's back in an instant. Bang! Holding the blow firmly, a strong electric current erupted from the place where Saitama was injured. Shoo! The enemy quickly dodged. Hey! The wretched man stepped forward, but Saitama's eyes lit up. Through the previous battle, Saitama had already felt that this wretched man was the weakest of the three, so Saitama had been waiting for an opportunity. Now, the wretched man rushed in front of him with a look of excitement. He thought that his three-person tactics would always be able to stabilize Saitama. Ha! With a glove on his fist, covered with a layer of blue chakra, the wretched man faced Saitama and smashed his fist out. Hiss! The electric current was surging, and the riding wheel was running wildly. Saitama was going to kill this enemy with one blow, allowing himself to take the lead in gaining the advantage. Go to hell! Saitama pierced his right hand, and the electricity was surging. But the enemy seemed to have anticipated it long ago, and ducked to the side when Saitama counterattacked. He knew that his companions would launch an attack soon, and asked Saitama to withdraw the attack. Shoo! The right hand that had been stabbed grabbed the enemy at the moment when the enemy was dodging, and at the same time a very strong current erupted from his hand. What? Page 99. The wretched ninja screamed miserably, and he was arranged by Saitama. His breath was instantly sluggish, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. Shoo! The other two enemies slowed down when they saw that Saitama had locked his companion. The moment they were about to speak, Saitama's other hand held a thunderbolt and plunged straight into the enemy's throat. Blood splashed out immediately, and the puzzled expression froze on the enemy's face. You! The pockmarked ninja couldn't believe it, and then angrily swung his hammer. The speed was extremely fast, and it was heading towards Saitama's head. He knew that his companion was hopeless, so he didn't have any scruples. Bang! Saitama pushed the enemy who was still dying, and the hammer came into close contact with his body, blood and flesh flying. Town! The ninja leader yelled, but he didn't care about the corpse, but looked at Chiyu. Damn you! Konoha's ninja! Pockmarked with a hammer on his face was cold. With one person missing, do you think you can still suppress me? Saitama took a few steps back and said sarcastically. The two enemies looked at each other, as if they had made a decision. They took out a pill and threw it into their mouths. Ha! Saitama felt something was wrong, and sank down, making defensive preparations. Chapter 45. After the remaining two ninjas swallowed the pill, the chakra in their bodies began to skyrocket, but bloodshot eyes also appeared in their eyes. Their expressions are also a bit strange, as if they are enduring something very uncomfortable. Is it a pill to stimulate potential? Saitama looked at the performance of the two. Shoo! The ninja leader ran towards Saitama. His speed increased a lot compared to before, and he was also covered with a chakra coat, which looked very powerful. Boom! A punch hit the ground, and Chiyu jumped to avoid the attack. Shwa! Another ninja approached Saitama, swung the hammer and exhaled loudly in the air. Oh! After taking the pills, both of them seemed to have improved to a certain extent, and their speed and strength were not at the same level as before. Die! Die! The ninja holding the hammer is like a furious humanoid brown bear, constantly waving the hammer in his hand, tirelessly. Crack! Dodging the hammer, Saitama caught another ninja's fist with both hands, and retreated quickly with the momentum of the fist. This fist is so heavy. Saitama caught it with both hands, barely blocking it. He is confident that his strength is not small, but he is still blown away by a punch. Saitama's hands began to get entangled with his arms while flying upside down. At the same time, Saitama pumped out his own chakra suddenly. Chidori burst out instantly, and directly hit the enemy along his arms. ZZ! The electric current raged, but the enemy's face did not change. It seems that after taking the pill, the enemy's pain perception is also reduced or paralyzed. Saitama kept groping for the enemy's intelligence and analyzing everything he knew during the battle. Boom! The enemy kicked out, and Saitama also wrapped his foot in Chidoryu and kicked it out. The 2 feet collided together, and Saitama took advantage of the situation to let go of the enemy's hand, and walked towards the back at a faster speed. Boom! The hammer came again, and the enemy jumped into the air, smashing the hammer hard at Saitama. Damn! Saitama twisted his body to avoid it, but was still hit by the shock wave, and his chest felt tight. This kind of medicine usually doesn't last too long. Try to delay it as much as possible. As for the tiger in early spring. Thinking in his heart, Shiyu glanced at it from the corner of his eye. Among the few subordinates who followed before departure, there were only 4 left around Zhaochu and Xiaohu, and all of them were injured. Zhaochu and Xiaohu was also having a hard time, and one arm seemed to have lost the strength to hold the knife. There are still nearly 50 warriors around, more than 10 times the number of them in early spring Xiaohu. It's difficult. Saitama knew in his heart that this was the most critical moment. Art fire escape ho fireball. There are some differences in the ninjutsu this time. Saitama spews out several fireballs that are much smaller than before. This is the effect of dividing chakra into several times. 2 enemies dodge left and right to avoid Saitama's ninjutsu. After choosing an enemy, Saitama rushed forward. The ninjutsu just now was to separate the 2 enemies so that he could complete his set of skills. The hammer hit Saitama, and purple bloodshots appeared on the enemy's pockmarked face, as if a capillary had burst. Oh! The hammer fell heavily on the ground, less than 10 centimeters away from Saitama. With 1 foot on the hammer, so that the enemy could not retrieve the weapon in time, Saitama leaned towards the enemy. Shwa! The electric current in his hand flashed across the enemy's cheek, leaving a red mark. Go to hell! The enemy already showed a trace of fatigue, and Saitama threw himself into his arms. Bah! The right hand stabbed fiercely, making a hole in the enemy's right chest, and the lightning in his hand kept flashing and creaking. Page 100. Ha! Even Saitama felt the emptiness in his body. Ugh! The enemy smiled ferociously. The wound on his chest didn't seem to make him feel the passing of life. He let go of the hand holding the hammer, hugged Shiyu, and squeezed vigorously with both hands. Shiyu couldn't react for a while, and was hugged straight. Now it was Saitama's turn to feel uncomfortable. The emptiness of chakra in his body, the exhaustion of physical strength, coupled with the strong embrace of the enemy, made him like a duck being pinched by the neck. Shwa! After being stabbed by a kunai in the back, Saitama suddenly burst out the remaining chakra in his body, turning it into an electric current, raging everywhere in his body. But the enemy behind him ignored him and continued to forcefully send kunai into Saitama's body. Put! With a sweet throat, blood spurted out, directly splashing the face of the enemy who was holding Saitama. Ah! Saitama yelled, and the Sharingan in his eyes frantically turned, as if he was on the verge of being promoted. Rub! A second passed, but Saitama felt that a long time had passed. His eyes tingled, the world became clearer, and a new chakra was produced in his body, supporting him to maintain consciousness. Shwa! A ninja seal was squeezed out with his right hand, and Katama turned into white smoke. Substitute. The wood in the enemy's arms was crushed into chips. Ha! Saitama stood in front of the enemy, showing a trace of fear, but the 3 Goju in his eyes were like the horn of victory, sounding the prelude to Saitama's counterattack. The evolution of Sharingan allows Saitama to use a faster speed and see everything on the way. A new chakra was produced in the body, and Saitama immediately used it. ZZ! Chakra stimulated the cells in the legs, and Shiyu didn't want to worry about the sequelae at this time. Kick! Saitama shot again, and Saitama went straight to the enemy. Shoo! Saitama used his hand as a sword, and his speed turned it into an excellent weapon. Although it only covers a little lightning, it is still a powerful weapon that can kill people. A scar was drawn on the leader's chest, and then he stopped, avoiding the enemy's kunai, and came to the face of the pockmarked ninja. At this time, because Saitama's Chidori made a hole in his body, the effect of the medicine seemed to be fading, and he also showed a little weakness. Bah! The side of the palm slid across his throat, and then Saitama bowed his waist and opened the distance. Plop! An enemy fell again, and the evolution of Sharingan not only brought changes in the blood, but also an all-round improvement. Saitama, who was afraid to try before, also dared to try, such as the current speed. In the past, this speed was not supported by Liang Guyu's Sharingan. It used to be that Saitama couldn't see a clear picture when advancing at such a speed, that is, the eyes could not respond. Now it is different. Eyesight fit perfectly. There was only the last enemy left, and it was just a needless struggle, and Saitama easily eliminated him. After the upgrade of Sharingan, his overall strength has been greatly improved. Regardless of the ninja leader who was stabbed in the throat by himself and lay struggling on the ground, Saitama quickly found his own knife and walked towards Zeoharu Zayatora. Although killing the last ninja had left him empty, he was not afraid at all. Xiaochun Shahu, your life is over. There is only one early spring Shahu left, and Sanji Silly is surrounded by a group of warriors and stands opposite him. Bah! Spit out a mouthful of blood, Xiaochuan Shahu fell dead silent. Chiyu over there was besieged by 3 ninjas, he didn't know how to live or die, he should be hopeless here. The generals of the Kingdom of Fire will not bow their heads to you. If you fall down on me, there will be tens of thousands of me. Although he tried his best to shout, the voice of early spring was still very small. Crack! Sanji Temple clapped his hands. That's not your business. Come on, show me your guts. Shahu saw Sanjoji take out a samurai sword in early spring. Now his body is covered with scars, and he is unable to fight back. Being able to stand here is already the limit. What? What? Before Sanji Temple could strike, the samurai standing in the back row wailed before death. Ha! Sanji Temple looked in one direction with a look of surprise. You're not dead? Sanjoji saw Katama beheading his subordinates like a child. A few clowns are worthy of killing me? At this time, Chiyu's appearance was not good, and there was a blood hole in his back. A large piece of clothes behind. The end of the crossbow. Although Sanjoji is not a ninja, he still has eyesight. Kill him. Sanjoji shrank back, pushing the subordinates around him towards Saitama. Shwa! Shwa! Without using chakra, relying entirely on physical skills, Saitama easily and freely chopped down the enemy who rushed towards him. Sayu! Xiaochuan Shahu opened his closed eyes, saw Saitama, and felt a sense of rejoicing in his heart that he escaped after death. Stop him! Sanjoji didn't expect Chiyu to be able to fight like this, shouted, and then quickly boarded the carriage, as if preparing to leave. The remaining samurai carried out his orders perfectly, even knowing that they were close to death against Saitama. Taking advantage of the opportunity of his subordinates to stop Chiyu, Sanjoji's carriage left quickly, and Chiyu was powerless to stop him. Alright legends, that's it for today. Like, subscribe, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.